Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com and broadcasting to you from the Dallas KFXR 1190 AM Clear Channel studios. All right, I've got two guests in the next two segments. Vince Molinari, founder of Gate Global Impact. He's our crowdfunding and impact investing correspondent, and he brought with him a guest, Congressman Patrick McHenry of the U.S. House of Representatives. All right, Vince, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Michael, and thank you for coming and visiting with us, Congressman. I'm going to be a little quick here because Congressman McHenry's just been called down to votes on the floor, so we're going to have to do a little bit of an abbreviated session.
Okay.
But I wanted to get a couple of things out there quickly for Congressman McHenry, who has just been a huge advocate of the Jobs Act and actually H.R. 2930, which was the Entrepreneur Access to Capital Act that became Title III early on. And he's in his fifth term serving in the House, and he is a member of the Financial Services Committee, and he serves as the chair of the Oversight and Investigations Subcommittee. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on, and on behalf of all the entrepreneurs and small businesses, thank you for the amazing body of work that you've done to advance the ball, to access capital for all of us.
Well, absolutely, and it's such an important thing to democratize the raising of equity for small businesses, but also average investors to get that opportunity. It's a fantastic thing, and thanks for your leadership.
And welcome to the show.
And I don't want to embarrass you here, but I have to just go back for 1 second, and just so our listeners really understand the body of work and how hard you worked for all of this. Because back in the day in September 2011, I was there, and I saw you reach across the aisle with Barney Frank and Maxine Waters, who, as most people would say, on opposite ends of the political beliefs. And you drove that process to a vote that was over 400 in favor, maybe 16, 17 against your particular bill. And that, I think, just epitomizes how hard and what you were willing to do to bring this country together to make this happen. So, again, thank you for that. And
it's hard to do, but look, this is not a partisan issue. It should be a common sense issue to allow people to make more choices with their own money. But I guess in politics today in Washington, there are very low expectations.
Well, and thank you for setting the bar high for everybody to achieve the same kind of bipartisan work. Quick question for you. We're September 2013. We finally get final rules on Title II, the removal of the solicitation ban and the Jobs Act. I know you worked very hard for that. Tell me where you think we are, what may happen here, how that impacts all of the entrepreneurs who are looking for capital and the investors who are looking to invest in companies and have some wealth creation.
Well, look, I think that we've made great strides. But I think if you look at the rules that the SEC's proposed, they're deeply flawed. So I think what I'm going to drive forward with is trying to get a legislative fix to ensure that we can actually have better rules coming out of the SEC. In the meantime, this will at least start the discussion. And my hope is that we can have some small dollar issuances that come about as a result of the SEC rules and the law that we were able to get passed. But I do think that long term, we're going to have to push forward with a directive from Congress in a new law to fix the challenges that are a result of the flaws in the current SEC proposal.
Congressman McHenry, let me jump in there for just a second and bring you out a little bit on this one. Better rules, what kind of improvements do you think that we need to make in regards to this body of work?
Well, the portal liability issue, saying that basically portals would be responsible for the issuer conduct, and you put the SEC and the compromise law that came through the Senate and the Jobs Act when it comes to crowdfunding, it has a flaw in that the portal carries the liability, but they're limited in policing the issuers who come through their portal. So we're holding them liable, but we're not giving them the tools to hold people to accountable. We also, in the SEC rules, also say that portals cannot refuse those who wish to participate in their portal, meaning that they can't even police folks and say, no, you're not allowed. And then another component of this is that we basically have created a donut hole, if you will, in terms of how much money folks will have to raise. If you raise $501,000, you have to have audited financials. But if you raise $499,000, you won't have to have audited financials. So what you're going to see is folks that want to reasonably raise, $520,000. They'll go out and raise $800,000, just to throw out a figurative notion here. And so they're going to have to raise more based on additional regulatory burdens. Those are three examples of the things I'd like to fix with the new law, and that's my long-term push.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Now, Vince, I know you've got a whole litany of questions for the Congressman. Please go ahead.
Well, I think, speaking of that, Congressman, how does our listeners, how do they engage? How can they help the process? And I think part of this program is really to create education and awareness and make people aware and take part in this process to help effectuate this democratization of capital formation.
Well, first of all, I mean, the value of crowdfunding is that you could have small dollar issuances, meaning a small business can sell equity in themselves and do so through the power of the internet. That's a beautiful and wonderful thing. Now, so that is a great opportunity. The structure that in writing laws, we direct the regulatory agency in charge, in this case the Securities and Exchange Commission, to write rules on enforcing that law. Now, the SEC was given some latitude, and I think they've taken that latitude in a flawed way. And so it is important that folks that are interested in this issue read up and contact the Securities and Exchange Commission to share their perspective and their views on this, especially if they're in this area or have expertise in the area of either the power of the internet and e-commerce or in securities law and regulation. Or if you're a small business that wants to participate and take part in this, and you see flaws, you should communicate with them, as well as my office. And you can find me online at McHenry.house.gov is my website, and communicate with us via that means as well.
That's good. Gentlemen, we've got about a minute and a half left in the interview. I know you've got a Congressman, I know you've got to run to do a vote. Will you be able to sit with us for the next segment, or do you have to take off now?
No, unfortunately I have to take off. We've got 0 time remaining and 135 members who haven't voted yet, so I've got to get upstairs to vote.
All right. Well, I wish you the best, and thank you so much, and I do want to extend an invitation for you to come back.
Thanks, Michael. I really do appreciate it. Really appreciate the value you give to listeners, and it's a fantastic thing when folks are more informed and engaged when it comes to the markets and all that's going on in this great world of ours.
Well,
Congressman, thank you so much. We're honored to have you today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Certainly appreciate it, Vince, and all that you do. Y'all have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thank you.
Vince, you're going to be able to stick with us for another segment?
You're stuck with me.
Okay, good. All right, well, let's take a break right now. But before we go, give everybody your contact information, because this is a close ally of yours, Congressman Patrick McHenry. And maybe people can reach out to you if they didn't get his email contact.
Absolutely. Come to gateglobalimpact.com. You can access me right there, or the Molinari at gateglobalimpact.com, my direct email. And here's a great thing if I've got 10 seconds.
Yeah.
As a result of the great work that Congressman McHenry did and many of the other legislators, we as Gate Global Impact are going to take advantage of Title II of the Jobs Act, and we are going to launch our own private placement Reg D 506 offering, and we're going to use all the mechanisms that are now put in place.
Can we talk about that on the next segment?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, let's do that. We'll take a break right now, and we'll come right back with Vince Molinari of Gate Global Impact. And special thanks to Monk Media and 1-800-PublicRelations.com for all their media and PR support. We'll be right back with Vincent Molinari, founder and co-founder of Gate Global Impact. Welcome back to the Traders Network. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're also streaming to you live on yorbamedia.com and broadcasting to you from the Dallas KFXR 1190 AM Clear Channel studios. All right, with me is Vince Molinari, founder of Gate Global Impact, gateglobalimmpact.com. All right, Vince, that was a great interview. Thank you so much for bringing the Congressman, Patrick McHenry, onto the show. That was really, really good stuff.
Well, thank you, Michael. I was delighted, and unfortunately, as House votes go, it came right into our second portion or our second segment here. But again, thrilled that we had the Congressman. You know, I was wondering, Michael, if I could take a step back just to emphasize for the listeners a little bit of really what was accomplished and what Congressman McHenry helped start with the Jobs Act.
Please do.
Yeah, so when we talk about this innovation, and Congressman McHenry, along with Congressman Schweikert early on, were the first to talk about disruptive finance and innovation around finance. And really what it was all about is how do we move capital to our entrepreneurs and our small businesses so that they can grow, job create, and add to our economy. On the other side of it, when we talk about the democratization of capital formation, it's what we believe strongly in at Gate Global Impact. It's really the ability to have individual investors, both accredited and non-accredited by SEC guidelines of what that means. We can go into that. But giving them access to invest their dollars as they see fit in private companies, but also having investor protection around it. So that's a massive change. And to think about, if you dial this back a little bit, to the fall of 2011, we're in a presidential election cycle.
Yep.
And here was a Republican from North Carolina who managed to get 407 votes in favor of this legislation and only 17 against. Very few times in recent history have we seen that kind of bipartisan work. And I think as Congressman McHenry said, this is about not being partisan. This is about America, and this is about moving our country forward.
Yes.
And so much to it. And I didn't want to talk about this so much and embarrass Congressman McHenry, but this was so powerful at the time that President Obama, again, going into an election, came out in support of Congressman McHenry's bill in front of the joint session of Congress on jobs and the economy, and preemptively said, hey, I will sign this into law, which he did do in 2012, should it pass through the House. So it was really just an amazing milestone in U.S. history as we have changes of 80 years' worth of securities law.
Yes.
And I just wanted everybody to appreciate that a little bit.
Definitely. Well, anybody who's a capitalist is definitely cheering you on, and from here too, because this is great work that Congressman has done, and you work closely with him. So it's not like he did it by himself. There's a whole group of people that are heading in the right direction. I think that's what America really wants to know about, that there are good people up there doing things that are actually going to create commerce for all of us, not just a few.
And I couldn't agree with you more, Michael. And again, at Gate Global Impact, it's about how do we have that job creation? How do we deliver a positive impact? How do we make money and do good at the same time?
Which is another part of what you do. Can you bring that out?
Well, we've really taken the view, Michael, that as you look at rate of returns, and we can define those in percentages at any time on our rate of return. But we believe the future is evolving to another portion of the rate of return. It's that triple bottom line portion. It's the economic, it's the environment, it's the societal deliverance of good as well. And if you can combine that, and we can begin to measure how much clean water was delivered, how much carbon reduction, how much job creation, how much education was done, alongside getting that real rate of return. What a magnificent way to invest our capital and deliver good.
Yes, I agree. Now, when we ended the last segment, and we're going to explore that more and more and more. You're going to be down here in Dallas in the studio and live show, and we've got a whole bunch of time set up for that. But before we go down that road, we ended the last segment with a raise that you're doing on a new project. Can you open that up to us?
Well, it's actually beyond the new project. Really, because of all this great work, and we'll talk about Title II for a second in the Jobs Act. The ability for the first time for private companies to advertise that they are raising money. You couldn't do that just 6 months ago. It wasn't until September 2013 when the SEC wrote the rules that govern Title II as part of the passage of the Jobs Act. We believe that is a paradigm shift in the distribution of securities and how individual investors and institutions can begin to invest. So we as Gate Global Impact, because we believe so strongly in that, are going to go out and raise money for our own company using this new paradigm of being able to advertise. So to be very specific about it, before September 23rd, I could not, on your radio show, say that we are going to raise money that was against 80 years of securities law. I could now reach your audience. They could then tweet about it. It could be on any social media. I could talk about it in a television ad, and that gives us a great ability to tell more people about what we're doing. So just not, your listeners, our listeners, as I would love to say right now.
There you go.
Can go right to gateglobalimpact.com, click on the Learn More button down at the bottom of the page, and we'll send them executive summary, and they can then learn more, and perhaps if they are an accredited investor, and this is very important for Title II, they have to meet the accredited investor standards to be able to invest pursuant to a Title II offering.
Now,
and
you
I think
gave...
the other little piece that we'll talk about is Title III.
There you go.
Which is crowdfunding, as we have all learned to get into the jargon. And that says that a company can raise up to $1 million in a 12-month period, and it could come from non-accredited investors or the retail investor in smaller amounts to aggregate. Very powerful stuff.
Exceptional. We've got 2 minutes left in the segment. You have other guests that you're going to be bringing on to the show. Give us an idea of what's to come next through you.
Well, actually, this Thursday, the 13th, we have Fernando de Sousa. Fernando is the general manager of For Africa, which is Microsoft's initiative for the continent of Africa. He's going to come on and he's going to talk to us about how they're delivering good, how they're deploying capital within the continent to help alleviate poverty, educate, create commerce, how we as Gate Global Impact are going to work with them to try to bring diaspora communities to invest directly into those projects, and whether those individuals are in the U.S. or other parts of the world, to create a mechanism for that capital to flow. And the week after that, we have Daniela Foster, amazing, innovative entrepreneur. Daniela is the Director of Public-Private Partnerships at the U.S. State Department, and she oversees 165 countries that are doing partnerships to create commerce.
Now, you also have inroads into the United Nations, I understand, too?
United Nations Global Compact is an official partner of Gate Global Impact. We are becoming their execution hub for what they're calling action hubs. They're setting up specific portals around clean water, social business, women empowerment, and we will be the technology to partner with them to execute those securities transactions.
All right.
So we are thrilled, and we'll bring a senior representative in the United Nations Global Compact on the show in the coming weeks as well.
Perfect. We've got to end it there. Vince, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Michael.
My pleasure. And special thanks out to 1-800-PublicRelations.com and Monk Media for all their PR and media support. We'll be right back with another hour of the Traders Network.